Good evening, and welcome to ETS News 29. I'm Michael Hayden.
And I'm Caleb Supernor. A lot has been happening in the town of Shrewsbury and in our schools. November was a very busy month as residents headed to the polls last month. One question was specific to the future of one elementary school in our town. Our top story tonight, a new Beale school has been approved for construction. With more on this story is Emily Lack.
During this past midterm ballot on November 6th, it was up for debate about whether or not the 96-year-old Shrewsbury Beale School would be receiving the proper funding to be rebuilt. The results were overwhelmingly in support of the rebuilding of Beale School with 10,733 yes votes and only 5,103 no votes. The Beale School was subject to rebuilding as various issues developed. The main issue is space. There has been rapid population growth in the town of Shrewsbury, requiring more learning space for students. One option was to repair Beale School and bring it up to code. The cost for this was determined to be approximately $16 million. This was deemed inefficient because it wouldn't improve the growing space needs. Option 2 was to rebuild Beale School. Rebuilding is a long-term solution to fill current and future needs of the district. Beale School Building Committee member Sandy Frisk talked about this project.
I think there's three main reasons. We're looking for a long-term solution for an old building. So if we were to just repair that building, it would cost about $16 million just to repair, but it wouldn't fix the space needs. So we have a long-term solution that's going to hit and fill the future needs of the district, and it's also fiscally responsible where we're using town money, but we're also getting a significant portion from the state.
As final numbers are accounted for, rebuilding Beale School will cost approximately $93 million. However, this won't be covered solely by the town of Shrewsbury. The Massachusetts School Building Authority will be covering roughly $34 million of the cost, leaving the remainder of the cost to the town of Shrewsbury. Superintendent Dr. Joe Sawyer discusses when construction will take place.
The construction will really start in earnest in the fall of 2019, and the building should be completed by midsummer or so of 2021. So it's a long process, and the intent, if all goes well, is to open the new school for the new school year that will begin in August of 2021. And that time will pass quickly.
The rebuilding of Beale, which will roughly take 2 years, will provide free full-day kindergarten for everyone by 2022, eliminating the former lottery system. Beale School will be developed into kindergarten through grade 4. This adjustment alters the transportation system due to Beale School's new location and greater amount of students. It needs to be decided which neighborhoods will be going to the new Beale School for kindergarten or elementary school, and what neighborhoods will be going to the existing elementary schools such as Floral and Patton. After this is decided upon, they will be able to plan out the most efficient bus routes to get everyone to and from school. The new Beale School will be built on the former Glavin Center at 214 Lake Street. Out of 31 options, this was decided upon as the best location. The new Beale School will cover 141,600 square feet on the former Irving A. Glavin Regional Center on 214 Lake Street versus its current size of 32,100 square feet on 1 Maple Avenue. Lamaro Pagano and Associates has been selected to design the new Beale School using the energy-efficient LEED 4 design. New implementations have been included in the design as well. Here's Superintendent Dr. Joe Sawyer on the topic.
Well, the new Beale will have a similar design to both the Floral Street School, which was built a little more than 20 years ago, and then the new Sherwood Middle School, which was built a few years back, about 5 years or so. And there'll be a lot of the same kinds of features as it's a large school. It will serve 790 students. Of course, it will have all of the important core facilities, cafeteria, media center, gymnasium, as well as classrooms for your typically sized classrooms for the various subjects as well.
The building is planned for an increase of 242 additional students by 2025. However, before planning the construction, funding, and process of rebuilding, the project first needs to be approved by both the town and state. It took roughly 3 years for the project to be fully approved. The project was proposed to the state in 2015, the town in 2018, and lastly to the populace of Shrewsbury on the November 6th midterm ballot. Here's Mrs. Frisk talking about how exactly the project got approved.
It's a long process. The building committee started working in 2015 when we went to the state and asked to be put into the pipeline to see if the state would approve this project. And they looked at the facility and the growth needs, and we were one of the few chosen, which was excellent. In October of this year, the town meeting members voted to get the money, and what we did was we went before the whole town and we had a town-wide vote just this past November 6th to approve the funding.
Currently, staffing for the Beale School has not yet been determined. This project provides a supported, non-crowded learning environment for young Shrewsbury students. The new Beale School is currently scheduled to open for the school year beginning in fall of 2021. Until then, I'm Emily Lack reporting for ETS News 29. Back to you.
Thanks, Emily. In addition to the special vote on the Beale School, Massachusetts residents also voted on 3 questions regarding nurse and patient limits, an amendment that creates a committee that controls how much a company invests in a campaign, and the rights for transgender people in public places.
With more on the outcome of the ballot questions is Katelyn Smith.
On November 6th, the midterm elections were held. Along with citizens being asked who they wanted to elect, 3 questions were on the ballot. The ballot questions ranged a number of topics, from nurses to transgender rights. The results to this election was a no to question 1 and a yes to questions 2 and 3. Question 1 was regarding how many patients a nurse could be assigned to in a hospital. Question 2 was regarding how much a large organization could fund a campaign. It also asked citizens if they wanted a commission to be formed that would try to pass an amendment that does not give large corporations the same right as individuals when funding elections. Question 3 prohibits discrimination in any public place for people who classify as transgender. The no to question 1 means that there will be no limit to patients nurses are assigned to in an emergency room. The yes to question 2 means that a committee will be formed to regulate the amount of money going into a campaign by large corporations. For question 3, it means that we will keep the law that doesn't discriminate against gender identity. This is important because the results of the elections directly affect the way our society functions.
Sure. So question 1 was asking people whether or not they felt that we should have mandated patient-to-nurse ratios. The question did fail. It was about 30% of people who voted for it and about 70% of people who voted against it. Question 2 would set up a 15-member citizens commission, and it was really as a result of people wanting to come up with ideas around how to combat what they saw as a flawed Supreme Court decision, which was Citizens United. This is a non-binding question, meaning that even though it did pass by about a 70% to 30% ratio, in effect, because one state can't impose its will on the rest of the country, you would have to have many, many other states who would come together and say, no, we agree that there should be a constitutional amendment that doesn't allow this. So the commission that did pass is supposed to be named within the next couple of months. It is really more of a statement than it is really a binding process that was voted in. Question 3 essentially was asked the voters of Massachusetts whether or not they upheld what we had voted on in the legislature in June of 2016, which was to allow the protection of gender identity into public accommodation. In June of 2016, when we voted on the transgender public accommodations law, it enabled people to be protected if they were going to a shopping mall, a park, a restaurant. So the voters of Massachusetts did uphold that by about a 70 to 30% margin as well.
The voting took place in the Town Hall, Spring Street, and other places around Shrewsbury on November 6th. The questions in this election directly affect patients, doctors, and nurses, as well as people running for office and people who identify with a different gender than they were born. Massachusetts is one of the few states in the East Coast that allows for the public to vote to change state laws.
It's really important for people at the age of 18 to vote because it's like one of those monumental things, and it shows that you are 18 and you are an adult. So that's why I was so eager to vote, because it shows that I'm finally my own person and that I'm independent. So it's important that people vote because they actually do make a difference.
Out of all of Massachusetts, around 2,752,665 people voted, around 4,064 people in Shrewsbury. This midterm election voter turnout was one of the highest in history. Overall, this was a very successful midterm election in terms of voter turnout. I'm Katelyn Smith from ETS News 29. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Caitlin. This time of the year brings many people together through the holiday season, starting with Thanksgiving. With more on Thanksgiving and the holiday season, here's Jack O'Sullivan.
Thanksgiving, a time to get together with family and friends. Many people have different views of Thanksgiving, whether it's about the food or being thankful for what you have. Thanksgiving is a holiday that originated with the Pilgrims and Native Americans having a turkey dinner in 1621. Thanksgiving was made a holiday by President Abraham Lincoln in 1863. Since this time, family and friends have come together to thank each other for each of their qualities over a hot turkey dinner. Thanksgiving is celebrated on the fourth Thursday of November. This year, Thanksgiving was celebrated on November 22nd, 2018. An average Thanksgiving meal consists of turkey, mashed potatoes, stuffing, and gravy. Shrewsbury resident Donnie Green tells us why he believes Thanksgiving is so important. What does Thanksgiving mean to you?
I look forward to it. It's a nice time of year. The family gets together and we celebrate and talk about things in the past. It's just a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Some popular Thanksgiving foods are pumpkin pie, turkey, gravy, stuffing, and mashed potatoes. Everyone has their favorites.
Well, I guess you got to say the turkey. I like the gravy too, and the mashed potatoes, and the what's the red stuff? The cranberries. And then and my favorite part is there's enough left over for 5-6 days.
People look forward to spending time with family and eating these foods. There are many ways you can cook a turkey. You can cook a turkey with seasoning, and then you can put it in an oven, fry it, or smoke it. Any way the turkey is cooked, it is often the centerpiece of every table. What is your favorite Thanksgiving food?
I agree with Bill. Apple pie and vanilla ice cream. Yeah. Warmed up a little bit in the microwave. Nothing better.
Yeah. Many people celebrate with their family and friends. Many people celebrate Thanksgiving, and if they are not hosting, many people travel. According to U.S. Today, the worst travel day out of the year is the day before Thanksgiving. SHS student Katelyn Smith talks about her experience traveling to Virginia.
In some areas there was a lot of traffic, in other areas there wasn't that much traffic. I found the most traffic to be in Connecticut, coming up on the Saturday after Thanksgiving, and also the southern part of Massachusetts.
Thank you. This year has come and gone, and for many, Thanksgiving is the start of the holiday season.
Thanks, Jack. And a new, very popular club recently formed for students who enjoy video games and competition. With more on the esports club, here's Tony Pellegrino.
Esports is competitive online gaming, which has been getting more popular in recent years. From world championships to small leagues such as this one, esports has spread throughout the world very fast. This is the SHS Computer Lab, where we take place in a small league competing against schools throughout Massachusetts. So far, our 4 teams are ranked 2, 8, 13, and 15 out of the 38 teams from different schools.
There are 4 teams in the school, each consisting of 5 starter members, and there are substitutes for each team. Some teams have more substitutes than others. In total, there is about 32 members in the club. Currently, the game being played is League of Legends. This is Mr. McKinstry, the leader and coach of this group.
This was led by a grassroots campaign from the students here. They petitioned administration to look into it, and they did. And thankfully we were able to get it off the ground.
The esports teams meet every Tuesday in the computer lab in Shrewsbury High School for their official games against other schools. Teams coordinate scrimmage matches against other teams from the school on their own, but they also coordinate scrimmage matches with other teams from different states by having Mr. McKinstry contact coaches from the other states to find time to play a game or two. Every week, each team plays 2 games against different schools from different areas of their state. For our school, we go against schools from places such as Milford, Newton, Andover, and more.
It's really fortifying core values like teamwork and collaboration, communication, strategic thinking, and leadership.
More esports teams have been added in schools recently. The company who is in charge of all the esports teams in this season is called PlayVS. Play VS has started teams in Massachusetts, Connecticut, Georgia, Kentucky, and Rhode Island. So far, Play VS has announced 2 more games they will add to their roster when the season ends in the springtime. For the next season, the games Rocket League and Smite have been announced, but Play VS has also stated that these are not the only games which will be added to their roster.
Well, now you know about the local SHS esports team. This club is open to any new members wanting to play in the League of Esports and is actively looking for players who have experience or want to learn to play the games competitively. And for this season, League of Legends is the primary game. In the future, there may be some other games added to the esports club, such as Overwatch, Rocket League, and other esport verified games.
Thanks, Tony. Each year in the month of November, the SHS Student Council holds an annual food drive. However, this year was a little different.
St. Anne's of Shrewsbury reached out to Stuco and had a special request for the drive. With more on this story, here is Aaron Lowy.
Hello, I'm Aaron Lowy from ETS News 29. The supply drive was an event going on at Shrewsbury High School in which students could donate household supplies in order to help those in need. The gathered supplies went to St. Anne's in Shrewsbury.
The Student Council, also known as Stuco, at SHS organized this event. Stuco is an elected group of students that are in charge of managing school-wide events. Meher Gandhi, the Stuco president, is the head of the supply drive.
I think this teaches a lot of students at Shrewsbury High School that we should be meeting the needs of our community and paying attention to what's around just our school, and that there are kids in our school that will benefit directly from this, so that they can go home with paper towel rolls, shampoo, conditioner, things that we might all just see every day and take for granted.
Students were able to bring in various household items, such as shampoo, conditioner products, toothpaste and dental floss, sponges, deodorant, soap, toiletries, cat and dog food, napkins, and gift cards to local establishments. Students were able to bring in food for the drive, although it did not count for the school-wide event known as the Class Cup. Students dropped off supplies at their homerooms from November 13th through November 19th. This year, families at St. Anne's were more in need of household supplies rather than food items, so St. Anne's reached out to the SHS Student Council and asked about their participation in the drive this year. The Stuco advisor, Mrs. Moisen, helped organize the drive. She worked on campaigning the drive to students, and students who had questions surrounding the drive could go to her.
Sure. So St. Anne's actually came to us and said, Student Council, we'd really appreciate you trying to help us fill this other need that we have. This time of year, people are very generous with their food donations. However, sometimes I think people forget that there are other necessities in our households. So St. Anne's came to us and said, these are things that we'd really appreciate getting donations for, if at all possible. So Student Council and your student body jumped on board and said, absolutely, we can meet that need.
Students benefited from contributing to this drive because they knew it went towards a great cause. For the Class Cup, the amount of points received for donating depended on how much was donated. Multiple single packages were more points than an entire package of a bunch of items. The freshman class of 2022 ended up donating the most supplies, with the sophomore class of 2021 coming in a close second place. After the event ended, the Stuco tallied up the total amount of items donated. SHS donated 2,399 full-size packed items and $670 worth of gift cards and donations. Finally, all of these items went out to help at least 100 families.
So, with the cold winter seasons approaching rapidly, make sure you helped out someone in need. Once again, all the generously donated supplies went to St. Anne's in Shrewsbury. Thanks for watching our segment. This is Aaron Lowy for ETS News 29. Back to you.
Thanks, Aaron. Phones, computers, laptops, TV, social media. These are all distractions for teenagers. Each year, students struggle with procrastination and time management. With more, here's Erin Cailin.
As Shrewsbury High enters the second quarter, students and teachers are back in the full rhythm of school. For many students, this means falling back into the bad habit of procrastination. Students throughout the school are putting off and delaying work as long as possible to relieve their stress temporarily. An article by the Huffington Post from 2014 revealed about 86% of high school students procrastinate. Students that procrastinate finish their work the night before, in the commons, studies, or even the class before it's due. Only 14% of students say they often do their homework a few days before their assignments are due. Katelyn, a freshman from Shrewsbury High, explains how she procrastinates.
I have time, I just choose to put it off till later.
There are many reasons for widespread procrastination in the school. Psychology Today says if students have a low desire to complete an assignment, they are more likely to put it off and do something they find more entertaining. According to an article by the Huffington Post, 63% of students say this is the reason for their procrastination. In the article, it was found that more males procrastinate than females. Long days at school are tiring and stressful. When students get home, they want to do something to relax, rather than going back into the schoolwork. Moreover, many students say to do their best work, they like to have pressure from the due date. Some see it as just a game, a way to test how last minute they can get an assignment done. All in all, procrastination is a bad habit that many students have a hard time breaking. Belle Marcello, a sophomore at Shrewsbury High, explains some of the ways she's working on time management.
So some things that I have found really helpful regarding procrastination is if you put all your distractions downstairs, including your phone and any other device other than your iPad to do homework, it helps you because you won't go on it if it's not there. And
Mel Robbins, a procrastination researcher, has found that making calendars and planners and to-do lists help many students. Breaking up projects into smaller sections and doing them step by step can make an assignment seem less daunting. Working for 20 to 30 minutes at a time with a quick 5-minute break can make focusing on work easier. Putting phones and other screens away when working can limit distractions, which most students claim is the reason for their procrastination. The best piece of advice is to work on better time management progressively. Remember, not every strategy will work for you, so try some out and see what works best. Procrastination is not just a large issue in high school, but also in college, where according to the American Psychologists Association, up to 95% of students are procrastinating. This is Erin Cailin reporting for ETS News 29. Back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Erin. All teenagers can agree that they've experienced those nights where they get very little sleep, whether it's been caused by spending time on a phone, doing homework last minute, or being stressed out. Lack of sleep is a very common problem among teenagers. Here's Thomas Scheimer with more.
Sleep is necessary for human life and is one of the very few things required for human growth. A good amount of sleep is overall good for your physical and mental health, as well as your daytime performance. Lack of sleep can cause things such as stress and, if severe enough, lifelong health problems. Some causes of lack of sleep tend to be inconsistent sleeping schedules along with stress from work or school. For teenagers, getting enough sleep is a very large challenge. According to the National Sleep Foundation, sleep for a teenager is needed for everyday life, and experts advise that teenagers get around 8 to 10 hours of sleep, while the normal teenager sleeps approximately 7.5 hours per night, which is not enough. Because of this, teenagers can feel the effects of being sleep-deprived the next day. Effects include feeling drowsy during the day, experiencing micronaps, which are falling asleep for a couple of minutes at a time during the day, and the inability to react quickly and form memories. This can also affect teenagers' schoolwork and sometimes their after-school activities. There are many reasons why teens don't get enough sleep. Reasons include completing large amounts of homework, too many extracurricular activities, and too much time spent on social media during late hours. We interviewed the school nurse, Mrs. Johnson, in order to find out how the effects of a sleep-deprived brain can make a difference.
Your body completely shuts down, and that's a time when you have cell growth, regeneration, and just your body can relax and recharge. So your brain, which is one of the biggest organs and most important organs in our body, has the chance to do the same. And if you don't get rest and you don't allow your brain to be able to rest and sleep, it's not functioning at maximum capacity.
Lack of sleep may also be caused by other factors such as stress, depression, anxiety, going through traumatic experiences, medications that affect the ability to sleep, health problems, bad sleeping environment, or an inconsistent sleeping schedule. Since teens are recommended to get 8 to 10 hours of sleep a day, there are a few good times in order to go to bed in order to get sufficient sleep. While not sleeping can cause minor problems, such as not paying attention, being forgetful, and being unable to react quickly, severe and chronic sleep deprivation can lead to many severe health issues, such as an irregular heartbeat, heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, depression, and anxiety. We then interviewed Nora Frederick, a student at
I usually
SHS.
get to bed around 12, and then wake up at 6, so I get about 6 hours of sleep every night.
The ideal amount of sleep for teenagers, 14 to 17 years old, is 8 to 10 hours. However, many teens are getting maybe even less than 7 hours of sleep, which is definitely not recommended. For someone looking to wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, they should go to sleep sometime between 8 to 10 o'clock in order to get their full 8 to 10 hours of sleep. In special occasions, some teens may need as much as 11 hours of sleep. Studies have shown that a low percentage of teenagers fall into the range of recommended hours of sleep. There is actually a scientific explanation why teenagers are uniquely affected by lack of sleep. According to the UCLA Sleep Disorder Center, during adolescence, the human body's internal clock, called our circadian rhythm, actually changes by 2 hours, causing teenagers to have the desire to go to bed and wake up later. However, oftentimes schedules do not allow this. There are many reasons why you will not end up getting enough sleep sometimes. But just remember that you should always try to get your healthy 8 to 10 hours of sleep. This is Thomas Scheimer reporting for ETS News 29. Back to you in the studio.
It's that time of the year. With midterms just around the corner in January, students need to start preparing soon. Here's Cailin Butler with more helpful advice on how to prepare for these exams.
Students have always been stressed around the time of midterms. Midterms at Shrewsbury High School take place every year in January. These are tough tests, and some students want or need tips on how to take them. Midterms are tests that are given at the end of the first semester. Students are tested in the classes they are taking at the time. These tests encompass all the material learned from the first semester. There's a 90-minute block to complete each test, and 2 tests are taken each day. These days are always half days for that week, and students who have studies can leave early or arrive late depending on the time. SHS Principal Mr. Bazidlo explains the benefits of these exams.
And I think as we prepare students for their next phase in their life, whether it's college or work, it's the part of the discipline, the rigor of looking at midterms and trying to synthesize all the material learned and show how you know that stuff.
It is important to study for midterms as soon as students get the study guide. Study guides are usually handed out before winter break, and it's always a good idea to get an early start. Many teachers will give students the opportunity to do the study guides in class. Teachers will always break it up into manageable sections so students will have it completed and won't feel overwhelmed. Here is an SHS senior, Alana Curtis, with more tips for midterms.
What I find really helpful is even something as little as just listening to calming music while you study. Classical, Antonin Dvorak, for me, is something that I find to be really helpful.
Every student needs a good, quiet place to study. There are some really good places to study, such as the Media Center or the library. Although most students have to take midterms, some seniors are able to skip taking them if they have an 87 or above in the semester classes. Midterms count for about 20% of the grade, however, this can vary from teacher to teacher. Remember, midterms may be stressful, but if you study hard and frequently, you'll do fairly well. Stressing about midterms won't do any good. It's important to stay calm and focused. This is Cailin Butler reporting for ETS News 29. Back to you in the studio.
As winter approaches, it is important to know how to handle driving on those icy and snowy roads. Our news anchor, Caleb Supernor, covered this story on winter driving. Let's take a look.
This is Caleb Supernor reporting for ETS News 29 on safe winter driving.
Winter weather makes it much more dangerous to drive, and people have to be more cautious. Everyone should be aware of safe driving. Most drivers that are distracted are people who are not aware of everything. Drivers should know the road when it is safe. Some common road hazards are icy roads, slush, and black ice. Everyone should be aware of safe driving skills during the winter time. What can a student driver do to make sure they're safe?
So a couple things as far as driving is during snowy weather or icy weather. Biggest thing is to slow down, keep plenty of distance between you and the vehicle in front of you. Just because you have a four-wheel drive vehicle doesn't mean you're going to stop any better, especially on icy roads.
Yeah. Why is it important to be taught this?
To avoid accidents. So, not just students but adults too. That learning how to drive safely so you can avoid getting in an accident.
How can we prepare cars for winter driving?
So biggest thing you can do is preventive maintenance, having good snow tires, washer fluid, new wiper blades, and also making sure you have full tank of gas at all times. In case you do get stranded off the side of the road, at least you can keep the car running and have heat in your vehicle.
They can be taught the importance and safe winter driving from car shops and if they even search up the questions on the internet. It is important to be taught this so there are less crashes and that they are taught how to drive during the winter time. We can make sure we have good traction tires and that we have antifreeze. You can watch the news and see how the roads are, and if you don't feel comfortable driving, you shouldn't. How did you prepare for winter driving?
To prepare for winter driving, I changed my tires on my car to new snow tires.
Getting into the specifics, the precipitation during the wintertime can vary between snow, slush, sleet, rain, and ice. All of these are terrible, but the one that poses the biggest risk would be ice, as some of these spots, no matter how big or small, can cause an accident, and you can find them anywhere. Night driving should be limited as much as possible when there are risky conditions, but no matter what circumstances, it is important to be given proper education.
This has been Caleb Supernor reporting from ETS News 29 on safe winter driving. Back to you in the studio.
The winter sports season has begun at Shrewsbury High School. This year, the hockey team is facing bigger challenges. With more on the story, here's Rocco Hickson.
Hockey team here at Shrewsbury High School were state champions last year, and it's truly exciting for the new season to be underway starting this week, especially now that they got moved up to Division I.
This year, the Shrewsbury High School hockey program cut about 15 athletes. Better luck to those athletes next year. With the team moving up into Division I, the standards will be higher than ever. In Division I, the teams the Colonials will be facing will be faster and stronger, which means in order for the team to compete, they have to improve their strength and conditioning. Division I is certainly a whole new game than Division III, the division they played in last year.
So, what's your name?
Adam.
What hockey team did you make this year?
I made the JV team.
How were tryouts?
They were very hard. They were painful. There was a lot of skating involved, and a lot of workouts.
Tryouts for both varsity and JV hockey took place Monday through Thursday during the last week of November. Last year's record was 22-2, and they finished the year with a state championship win, qualifying the program to move up to Division I. This year will be a tough one, with the team having been moved up to Division I, which means much tougher competition. Shrewsbury High will look for captains Peter Belvin, Cole Russo, and Danny Holloway to lead the team to victory alongside Coach Turnblom. Hockey players from grades 9 through 12 are allowed to try out, but only a select few will make it onto the final team. Tryouts were 2 hours of skating, shooting, and vigorous hard work, and only the players who are both mentally and physically tough enough made it past the final cuts. These few players will have to battle it out each day this season for the team to have another successful year.
So, what's your name?
I'm Michael.
How were hockey tryouts this year?
Well, this year they were surprisingly difficult. I'd say that it was really difficult to complete them.
Yeah? What team did you make?
I made varsity, actually. I was surprised.
Interesting. The first practice took place on Monday, December 3rd. The team will continue practicing in preparation for their first game, which is still to be determined on both time and opponent. But Division I is sure to bring a tough schedule no matter the opponent. This is Rocco Hickson reporting for ETS News 29. Back to you.
Flu season is upon us, and there are many things you can do to prepare yourself for this year. With more, here's Thomas Murphy.
As winter approaches, so does the flu season. The flu is a very dangerous and serious illness that is most common during the winter. It is in your best interest to learn how to protect yourself and others from this disease. The flu is a contagious respiratory illness caused by influenza viruses that infect the nose, throat, and sometimes the lungs. The flu is very contagious and can become dangerous if left untreated. The flu can be spread through the air, skin-to-skin contact, or by touching contaminated surfaces. Some symptoms of the flu are a cough, fever, chills, fatigue, muscle or body aches, and sometimes vomiting or diarrhea. We spoke to Mrs. Johnson, a nurse at Shrewsbury High School, to learn more about the flu.
We know that there's influenza A and influenza B, and honestly, there really are no downsides. A lot of people believe that you get the flu from the vaccine, and that is not the case. The season starts anywhere from September to even, it can go as long as May.
The easiest way to prevent the flu is to get a vaccine. The flu vaccine contains a weakened version of the virus. This helps your immune system recognize the virus and trains it on how to fight it. The vaccine causes antibodies to form approximately 2 weeks after the vaccine is given an order to create a stronger wall of defense. We dug further into the idea of vaccinations by speaking to Shrewsbury High School health teacher, Mrs. Burtnick.
Year, there are different strains of the flu, and there are millions of cases. Typically, anybody who's medically able over the age of 6 months should get a flu shot. But in addition to that, it's important to practice good hygiene, as I said. Also, wash your hands frequently. Stay home if you're sick.
Vaccines are available in many different places. Try going to a local pharmacy or doctor's office today to get one. It is very well worth it to get your vaccine at least once a year. The Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices recommends annual flu vaccination for all persons aged older than 6 months who do not have any contraindications to the vaccination. Flu season is approaching, and you do not want to be its next victim. The virus kills 12,000 to 52,000 people every year. In order to protect yourself, go out and get your flu shots as soon as possible. This is Tom Murphy, recording for ETS 29. Back to you in the studio.
Finally, we would like to end tonight's broadcast with a special event happening at the Tower Hill Botanical Garden. Tower Hill's Night Light Winter Reimagined is now open for visitors. With more on this story is Taylor Breen.
With the winter season just around the corner, Boylston is already preparing for their light show at the Tower Hill Botanical Garden. This event is held from today, November 24th, until December 30th. This event takes place at different times depending on which day it is. The event is open every day except Monday, and on Tuesday there are no daylights. For other days, daylights are open from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., and the nightlights are open from 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. As for the weekends, the daylights are open at the same time, and for the nightlights, they are open from 4 p.m. to 10 p.m. They do this light show every year to celebrate the holiday season with the bright and colorful Christmas lights hung all around the property. This event takes place in order to celebrate and spread the holiday spirit through the decorations and wonderful light show, although this is a non-secular event. During this event, you can walk around inside and look at all the decorations that range from indoor lights to beautiful Christmas trees. There's a gift shop inside selling all different types of goodies and, of course, many holiday-themed ones.
For this event, I think I look forward most to sort of the magical experience that we can provide for everyone. It's really like a great family event that you can come together for the holidays and everything. So sort of like the excitement and happiness that brings everyone.
The types of items and foods that are sold here are gift shop goodies, and as for the food, there is a cafe located inside called The Farmer and the Fork. They offer a large range of coffee, pastries, and delicious meals. To set up this whole event, it took them about a month. It opens in the end of November, and they started to set up at the beginning of the month. The event ends on December 30th, so make sure you stop by.
I think it's a unique experience. It gets you outside, and they really do a nice job with the lights.
My name's Taylor Breen, ETS News 29. Back to you in the studio.
That's it for this month's ETS News 29. I'm Caleb Supernor.
And I'm Michael Hayden. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.